Lopes fans, welcome in. My name is Brennan Williams, and this is Go Lopes Radio. We are coming to you live after GCU drops the championship game of the Acrisure Classic to the Iowa Hawkeyes by a score of 59-46. It was another slugfest, much like last night against Utah. GCU ends up on the bad side of this one. Kind of the same story. Really tough on the defensive end, but not very dynamic on the offensive end. And Iowa, a really good team, 22nd in Ken Palm coming into the game tonight. So they were just a lot to handle for the Lopes and just a tad more efficient, consistent, and I think, just a little bit more talented as well. So let's get into a quick game recap, and we're going to get into some things we liked and didn't like, guys. So GCU, they come out firing. Jaden Henley goes kind of scorched earth there in the first few minutes. I believe GCU was up 10-3, especially crazy to think about when you see that final score of 59-46. So you take away that 10-3 run, and that is 56-36 over, about 34 minutes, 33 minutes of gameplay for Iowa. So really, really impressive stuff for them considering they were down 7 early. Iowa, they never panicked. They slowly chipped away at the Lopes, got back, tied the game up, kind of got themselves a little bit of a lead. GCU hung around just a little bit. They kept working their butts off defensively, but they were never able to pay it off on the offensive end and really take advantage of all the work they were putting in defensively. And they just did not have the firepower. They kind of hung around most of that second half. They get within 9, they get within 7, I believe, at one point. But it was, at crucial times, it was a turnover. It was a missed layup. Then they'd come back down and they'd foul Iowa. And it just was not the Lopes night. Listen, guys, before we get into our things we liked and didn't like, I think we have to have this through a filter, right? Iowa is, like I said, the 22nd ranked team in Ken Palm. They might go up a little bit tonight as well. I know it maybe wasn't their most impressive performance. I thought that was in part due to GCU, and so credit to the Lopes. But this is a really good team, and it was going to be a tough game to win for the Lopes. Obviously, they were big dogs coming into this. Was kind of the one, you kind of circle on the calendar if you're a fan to say this is one they can really make kind of national headlines if they're able to beat a really, really good Big Ten team. And guys, it didn't happen. It was going to be a tough game to win regardless. Doesn't mean we're not going to go through some things here and be honest. So, but I do think, it's necessary to just acknowledge the investment, the really good coach, Ben McCollum, really good coach, the incredible talent on Iowa, Bennett Sturtz. Maybe not his most efficient night, but you could see just the level of play he brings on the floor and the control he had of the game. But I was really good. And so, GCU, they fought their butts off, but don't get it done. They lose by 13 and never really got close in the second half, much like Utah, never got close to the Lopes yesterday in the second half. GCU's never able to really apply some pressure to Utah, make them score, make a crazy three, anything like that. But, Iowa pulls away 59-46. So, as always, we're going to get into our what we liked and didn't like from the game to kind of recap it. And there's going to be 2 negative points we're going to talk about here. And then there is going to be 1 positive because I still think there's something you can take away from this. The Lopes go 1-1 in Palm Springs. And I think there's something you can really point to for some optimism with this group. So I know it's, we're going to talk about it a little bit, the offense, and I know that's where a lot of the energy is going to be focused, but I think we got to give the Lopes a little bit of credit as well for the work that they put in on the defensive end. But let's get into it. First thing here is the fouling. So this is kind of unrelated to, maybe necessarily like the team. I just, there's a little bit of chatter about, man, GCU's not getting any calls in this first half. And I think there were some good points on that. Totally. I think there's maybe some moments. The first half was way more lopsided than the second half with the fouls. But guys, I thought, if I'm just going to be honest, I thought the refs called it correct. I thought GCU, again, at the end of the day, there's one Power 4 team and one non-Power 4 team. So they've got, Iowa's got the size, the strength, the speed. They're going to have a leg up there. That's just the reality when it comes to the money and the investment and the talent they're able to acquire. But I thought GCU was out of position at times in the first half. It was just a little scatterbrained. It was half a step in the wrong way. We've seen that time and time again this season, especially some of those pick and rolls. I was so specific in the looks they want to get and where they want to get the ball, whose hands they want the ball in at certain points, and it constantly applies pressure to your defense the whole shot clock, because I was going to use a lot of the shot clock. GCU did a pretty good job. Again, we're going to get into that. I was really impressed by the work they put in on that end, but the fouling, guys, I thought it was totally on the Lopes. Like, no excuses there. Wilhelm is a fouling machine. That's who he is. If you look at his career, I think he's really additive. We've praised him for some of the efforts he's given this year and what he's brought to this team. But he can only play in certain spurts, guys, because he is a fouling machine. I know he tries to take a lot of charges. That's great. But, he hasn't been able to get a ton of those. He's got a few of them this year, but he's going to foul a lot. He's going to make it so he can't play consistent minutes, over a 6, 7, 8 minute stretch, because he's probably going to have to come out due to fouls. So that's a reality you have to look at. And then FA, at the end of the day, he's going to need some grace. We saw some serious flashes from him in both games, offensively and defensively. We saw kind of the ceiling, what FA could be. But he's still a freshman. He's still adjusting to the game. He's only, 2-3 months into this, guys. And he's going to be a little out of space here. Even on offense, I thought maybe a few times there were some serious miscommunications. He threw the ball into the stands. But, he's going to struggle with fouling. He has this year. And so GCU is going to, until they maybe clean up some of that communication, they get more games together, like they're going to foul, guys. And I thought, Iowa, obviously very impressive to watch them kind of work consistently, not panic at any point throughout the game, even when they were missing shots and having to work really hard just to score. Credit to the Lopes. But I thought when it comes to the fouling, like that's something GCU is going to have to improve on. Obviously, Iowa, that was one of the reasons in the first half they were able to lift and separate and chip away, is because they were getting to the free throw line. And that's not like when a team shoots free throws, those are points. It's not like those points don't count or they're not real. They're points and they count. That's because GCU fouled them. And so that's something you have to clean up. You can't look and say, well, they just made a bunch of free throws that might, maybe go our way or whatever in the second half. No, you can't foul teams at the rate that they did in that first half. I get it was choppy. I was really good. They played tough defensively, but you just got to be a little smarter mentally and physically, and not foul guys as much. So yeah, I didn't look at that game and say, wow, the refs were completely out of control. A few missed calls, but I thought there were, missed calls both ways. I thought it was super fair. I just thought the Lopes were, it's not lazy. It's just, they're not in the right spot. They're working on their communication. And some guys just foul more. That's just a reality. That's kind of how it works. So that was one thing I didn't like, was the fouling. Obviously allowed Iowa to get, free points at the line and kind of keep, even when they weren't able to score the ball really efficiently on the offensive end, they were able to at least get to the free throw line. So I thought that was something that I did not like. Second thing, and this is going to sound eerily similar to what I talked about after the Utah game, it's the offense, guys. I felt bad. I was a little negative after a win when it came to GCU's offense, because I get it. They won the game, but it was ugly. No way around it. And tonight I did not think was any better. Obviously, a really good opponent in Iowa who slows the game down. I was really efficient. You're going to kind of go at their speed. It's going to be tough to be more efficient than Iowa because they're so good at it. And obviously GCU just did not really get close to, threatening this game at all. I fought multiple opportunities to get back into it, and they didn't do that. But I think when you look at GCU from, an offensive perspective, you have to look at it through what have they done against the top, 200 teams in college basketball, 150, whatever that might be. You kind of got to throw away those really bad teams, guys. That's not the reality of college basketball. It's not where this team wants to go. I've mentioned those games are important. I'm not saying those games aren't important, especially for a new group to figure things out. And it's really good when they play well in those games. But when we talk about the kind of grading this team, you got to grade them. How did they do at St. Louis? How did they do against Utah? How did they do tonight against Iowa? And I get these are teams that are really good, Power 4, money, the whole thing, big brands, but it hasn't been good. The offense hasn't been good tonight. If we go to the box score, guys, it's not good. How about 4 offensive rebounds? College basketball is a game of possessions and scoring. 4 offensive rebounds, it is not going to be super helpful to you. You need to get extra possessions. Those offensive rebounds especially have to come close to the rim. If you get some long ones, hopefully you can turn those into some threes while the defense isn't set. Well, 4 offensive rebounds, 0 second chance points for the Lopes. That is really bad. And where it gets worse is 0 fast break points. I pointed it out at halftime, and they still didn't score anything in transition in the second half. Just not going to get it done. Guys, 7 for 15 on layups. So we talked about kind of the fouling, there's strength that comes with that. And GCU, like we've mentioned, is they just had, Iowa's got bigger power 4 guys. But 7 of 15 for layups is just really bad. They were not just missing layups. I know they had guys who were getting the ball knocked away and it'd kick off their foot. That's a turnover. That's the reality of playing really good college basketball teams is they're going to be smart, they're going to be strong. And when you have 0 second chance points, 0 fast break points, you're 7 of 15 at the rim on layups. That's on bigs, that's on the guards, that's on everybody to make their layups. When you go 5 of 17 from 3, guys, it's just not going to get it done. And Jaden, outside of the 2 threes, if you take those first 2 that he made, that means they were 3 of 15 the rest of the way in that game. The final 8 or 38 minutes of the game. That's not going to get it done. Obviously, they didn't make a 3 last night. This offense needs some serious injection of spontaneity, of easy baskets, of getting in transition, of just get some informal basketball, depressurize. We talked about when they get those threes, everything just depressurizes a little bit. They have got to figure out a way to improve this offense because we're going to get to talk about the defense and some things we really loved from it and were really impressed by, I think, over these last 2 games. But this sort of level offensively is just not going to get it done. And my whole rant I had yesterday, the bring your hard hat, lunch pail, old school, kind of 90s basketball. We guard tough. I get that. I think it's necessary. I'm not going to argue it, guys, but there is a little kind of, I don't want to say kind of annoyance with it where it's like, hey, guys, like I've said, it's 2025. College basketball, you got to shoot threes. You got to make threes. You got to score in transition. You got to get easy offense. There's so much talent available in college basketball. I think there's a ton of guys with talent on this team, and you've got to score the ball at a better clip, just bar none. It has got to change. They have got to find easy baskets. This team has got to find a way to score and score more efficiently because when they've played teams that are within the top half of college basketball, they've really struggled. They did an okay job against Youngstown State. They scored quite a bit there, which was good. But they had a massive size and talent advantage there. When they play, bigger, better, stronger teams, which is where this program wants to go. It's when you look at the Mountain West, you see a lot of that talent that they've faced so far in these 3 games, and they have been anemic offensively. Nobody has stepped up. No one looks really comfortable when they have the ball in their hands. There's a ton of wasted motion. There's a ton of, is somebody going to do anything and get me a shot? And missing, like we said, missing layups. We have guys taking, threes that shouldn't be taking threes. That there's a reason they're getting slow closed and they're kind of baiting them into the 3. It's really bad on that end right now. And over those 2 games, I think there's no other way to talk about it other than it was awful offensively. And I get the whole playing hard. It's, I totally get that whole thing in basketball and rah-rah. But guys, you got to be able to score to play in college basketball today. And the Lopes got to find a way. A new group, again, they're learning these things on the fly. I was forecasting they were going to have to figure some things out on the offensive end, and I thought defensively it'd be a little easier earlier in the season, but they have got to make some strides, and they have got to make them quick. You cannot grade this team on how they do Tuesday against Stetson, one of the worst, 10, 15, 20 teams in college basketball. You got to grade them on how they do against Oklahoma State. They need to score the ball, and they need to score it a lot, and not good. Not good offensive performance over both games. They played the defense necessary to win this tournament, I thought, over the 2 games. And offensively, they just really struggled. So we'll see how that develops. Obviously, Bryce has been able to push the right buttons. I think there's a ton of talent here. Guys that can do things. Sure, maybe some guys are just missing some shots and aren't comfortable, maybe banged up, whatever it is. But we're getting, into a scary amount of the season here where you've got to start ironing and showing, ironing some of these things out and showing that you can really score the ball at a high clip. So yeah, we'll just keep an eye on that, guys. But, you can't grade them how they do against Stetson. It's going to be about how they do against Oklahoma State, because that's the sort of, talent, maybe a little worse, but they're going to face in the Mountain West. So let's get to our thing we really like, guys, from this, the whole tournament, not just tonight, but I thought Utah. This is where I just said I thought the hard hat, toughness, the try, the effort, all that maybe is a little overrated, but has to be stated, guys. Youngstown and St. Louis were tough losses, and obviously Bryce called the guys out, very fair. But I thought, I don't know, they lost today, but I think they fought their tails off. And defensively, over both games, they showed such a high level of intensity. They did a really good job, obviously, on the scout. They made life so hard for Bennett Sturtz tonight. He, like we've said, he's one of the more efficient players in college basketball. He goes 5 of 15 from the field, 1 of 7 from 3, only 5 assists, and he had no turnovers because, again, he's just really freaking good. But I thought the Lopes did such a good job on him. Everybody was very well aware when they get in the game of how Utah wanted to operate and how Iowa wanted to operate. I thought that's a massive, tip of the cap to Bryce and his staff, the preparation they did. Like we mentioned, he went in right after the Northern Illinois game, and they were in there and kind of studying and getting ready for these guys. So really impressive job by the staff to be ready. And I thought the players matched it with a high level of intensity, a level of intensity I don't think we saw with St. Louis and with Youngstown. And I think if you're a Lopes fan, you can say this is the team we're probably going to get moving forward defensively. And that just raises the floor so much on what this team can do. Now it's, can they figure out things on the offensive end? So for Iowa to shoot 40% from the field as a team, and then 30% from 3, and they made a ton of shots at the end, so the stats were even better, before the last little 2-minute outburst Iowa had at the end. But I thought GCU was super disciplined in this game. They do give up 10 offensive rebounds, 10 second chance points, but they only gave up 3 fast break points. The transition defense was really good. And so that is an incredible job by the staff, by the players. And I think, again, if you're a fan, like you're at least happy with the way that they showed up and they fought their butts off against a really good Big Ten team who should be top 25 in the nation. And I think you got to be really encouraged by that. And I think if you're a team, looking at GCU on your schedule, later down the schedule, and you're going to get that team that showed up in Palm Springs defensively, you're going to have a really long night. It's going to be really hard and really tough. I thought everyone was engaged, like I said, and I walked away really impressed. I mean, even against Iowa, right? You thought, okay, eventually Iowa might pull this thing away here. And GCU they kept digging in. Even, they were fouling quite a bit. Guys would come in off the bench, but they continued all to stay engaged as a group. And I was really impressed by that. To continue to not kind of throw in the towel just because, you're not scoring the ball, I think says a lot, and credit to the Lopes on that end, and has to get you really excited for what they can do defensively moving forward. And again, the rest of this non-con, as they, continue to maybe try to just build a little bit of a resume and then try to really take off once they get to Mountain West play. So great sign there. But guys, that's it. GCU, they go 1-1 in Palm Springs in the Acrisure Series. They win against Utah and then lose in the championship game to Big Ten Iowa, top 25 Iowa team with one of the best players in the country. And they will be back at home next Tuesday against Stetson. We will not have a KYP for that. They are, like I said, about a bottom 20 college basketball team. So should be a game for this team to, maybe try to get some of that, that offense figured out, see the ball go in the basket and try to take some momentum as they head into next Saturday, a really big showdown with Oklahoma State, who's a lot better than projected. We're going to have some really good content on that next week. So stay tuned to the channel. But guys, have a happy Thanksgiving. Safe travels to everybody. Make sure you guys enjoy it. Time with family, friends, whatever that might be for you. And we'll see you guys back next week. Cheers.